Hey there. So today I want to return to Glassdoor. This is basically a way to review companies, and I want to look at another comic book company. Now, the ones that we've looked at so far include Image, which had three, and two of them were not good at all. We looked at Marvel. Marvel was basically Image on steroids. If you thought something looked bad from Image, well, wait until you get to Marvel. Also, we've only gone through 1 year of Marvel, and I feel that really we should look at Marvel on a larger scale because the reviews, they are pretty entertaining. I actually think that people that are writing them should be involved in scripting because some of that stuff that people say, it's very disparaging to Marvel, but it also paints a picture. DCs were much better. Now, something that you see across the board so far are people complaining about pay rates, and some individuals, if you go back far enough with DC, they complain about the culture there being, for a lack of a better word, too geeky. Now, I personally like that idea from my comic book company, but still, you can think about that on an individual basis. Now, here with Dark Horse, we're going to see another company represented. Keep in mind with all of this, first of all, we don't know why people write these things. Why do they come here and why do they give information? People, when they're mad, though, they will give you a behind-the-scene access that is sometimes unfiltered. Now, granted, it is shaded from an individual perspective, but within that, you are getting something that goes beyond all of the decorum and that brings out issues from behind closed doors. So sometimes we hear things rather unfiltered. So anyhow, let's look at this. So here, Dark Horse Comics. Now, I've started filtering them by date. I had not been filtering by date, which was probably a mistake on my part, but they had been arranging pretty easily by date anyhow. With this, we see a 3.1 out of 5-star rating with 68% that would welcome or would recommend to a friend and 65% approving of the CEO, which is Mike Richardson. He has 7 ratings out of that. Now here we have our newest one from December 29th, 2017. It says stable work, great people, but the pay is unsatisfactory and there's no room to move up. Now that's something we've heard about every company pretty much except Image. Image had its own issues. So looking at this, they recommend, have a neutral outlook, they approve of the CEO. I have been working at DC Comics full-time more than 8 years. The pros to it are a fun job of working with comics and pop culture, friendly co-workers, relaxed environment, good health benefits. Cons, very strong nepotism and favoritism. Difficult to move up in position and wage increases are extremely rare for regular employees. Now, the nepotism issue, that is basically cronyism. If you're not familiar with that word, some people ask me with this. I don't mean that insultingly. Like that's not a word that sometimes is thrown around that often. But nepotism, it doesn't simply mean favoritism towards family, which a lot of people use it toward. It also means friends and what have you. You can basically promote individuals that you like. So they're saying that within this culture, it strongly favors individuals that people probably know or that they get along with or are friends or what have you. That is a legitimate gripe within companies. This next one comes from May 1st, 2017. Positive work experience. They give it a 4 out of 5 stars. They recommend it. I worked at DC Comics full-time for more than a year. Pros were good health benefits right away and a PTO plan after 1 year. Fun events and perks. Great people to work with. Cons, doesn't offer much PTO in the first year and doesn't match or profit share 401k. By the way, saying that's paid time off, just in case you're wondering. A bit of a disconnect between VPs and employees, lower wages. There isn't as much growth opportunity, but that is mainly due to the size of the company. So that's a very interesting comment there too. Growth, you have to ask what kind of jobs would be available to grow into. You're going to have differences between this size company and say a Marvel or a DC. Now, if we're going back, we're going to have to go back to before the year. I've tried to stay within a year, but with smaller companies, you don't have as many reviews, so we get what we get. This is from September 14th, 2016. A fine job, for a while. They recommend, but with a neutral outlook. I worked at DC Comics full-time. Pros: ability to work with talented comic professionals, opportunity to work within the creation and sales process of excellent entertainment products, good benefits. Cons: low pay, little to no opportunity for advancement, out-of-date understanding of certain markets. Advice to management: understanding the value of employees is critical. Appreciating employees' time and effort is great too. Okay, this is the same feedback that we've noticed. So, okay, we're building the same picture. We have an issue with growth within the company, and we have an issue with pay. Now here we have March 30th, 2016, improving, 4 of 5 stars. They recommend with a neutral outlook and no opinion of the CEO. I've been working at Dark Horse Comics full-time for more than 5 years. Pros: fun staff, cool products, and autonomy to self-manage. Now the con with this, I kind of don't understand what they're talking about here. I guess this is a location comment. Silos, as there are multiple buildings staff work in, so hard to get to know some outside of your immediate department or building. I guess they're talking about divisions within that. It's hard to actually get to know the other people because individuals are compartmentalized in other areas. Advice to management: listen to your staff, trust them to do jobs hired, and always respect them and their experience. If you provide clear direction, most will want to support and follow it. Here's another one from, this is actually the most negative that I've run across so far, January 14th, 2016. Read before considering a position here. Doesn't recommend, negative outlook, no opinion of CEO. Pros: the staff, aside from a few managers, are extremely talented. Healthcare benefits are decent. Vacation time is acceptable but not excellent. Cons: promotions are usually given to managers only. The pay is the worst in publishing. If you think you eventually will be compensated for you working there long enough, that will not be the case. Some managers think they are royalty and treat others very poorly. The recent social media stories are true. Some people get special privileges due to their rank. Terrible place to work. Advice to management: recognize the people who are actually doing the work and pay them a decent wage. Obviously, something is wrong when the company has been reviewed so poorly for so many years. So looking at the next one, we're all the way back in 2015. Writing software at a comic book company. That's 3 out of 5. They don't recommend, neutral outlook, no opinion of CEO. I worked at DC Comics full-time for more than a year. Pros: nearly everyone I worked with was very laid back, and I made some good friends during my time here. There are a lot of good learning opportunities for junior and intern level engineers. As an engineer, putting in more than 40 hours in a week was an extreme rarity. So you actually don't have to work a lot there. That's interesting. Cons: I don't think I was alone in feeling a little out of place being a software guy working at a publishing company. I got the feeling that people higher up in management didn't really know what to do with our group. The tech stack was frustratingly old and cumbersome. While I was there, I saw most of the senior or mid-level engineers leave, which meant that it was hard for junior interns to get mentored. Advice to management: figure out exactly what you want to get out of your software group. Stop doing everything in-house. Rotate management. Now that's an interesting feedback, to be honest, because I've never thought about the types of positions like that within comic companies. Now we've continued all the way back to 2014. Now there are more reviews here if you want to check them out, but still it gives you somewhat of a look into Dark Horse Comics. Basically the complaints here are low pay and you're not going to advance within a small company. They don't actually complain about the people that they work with. However, they don't complain about them being cheap or frugal like we saw with other companies. Marvel, so it's kind of an interesting dichotomy when you compare company to company, and then you compare the industry as a whole and you look at everything stacked against one another. What similarities do we see? What issues? And so on. Anyhow, I'll continue looking at companies until I run out of companies, and I really want to go back to those Marvel reviews because they are pretty good. Anyhow, thank you.